The boundary between speaking up and staying silent is often very ambiguous, like a thin veil separating wisdom from recklessness. In a life full of upheavals, understanding when to remain silent is not just an act of self-control, but also a refined art. Stoic philosophy reminds us that sometimes silence truly is golden, can save you from unnecessary tragedies, prevent the escalation of conflicts, and even help you exude wisdom and calm qualities, whose value few can deny. We are often easily swept up by the noise of our thoughts and by the endless conversations around us. In the modern world where texting and posting on social media has become an indispensable part of life, we tend to fill every gap with hurried, sometimes meaningless words. But it's precisely this noise that makes us forget the power of silence, a tool that can profoundly transform both our minds and our lives. Stoicism teaches that there are times when silence is not just valuable but groundbreaking, helping us achieve inner peace and a deeper understanding of ourselves. In this article, I will guide you through 5 important situations in life where remaining silent becomes the smartest and most effective choice. Lessons from Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus will reveal deep insights, inspiring us to live more consciously, harmoniously, and with purpose. Let us explore and embrace the serenity of silence, where sometimes silence itself is the most powerful form of communication. Let's begin this journey together. The power of silence. Have you ever wondered why silence is sometimes more powerful than words? In modern life, where noise and a constant stream of information fill our minds with endless thoughts, Stoic philosophy reminds us of the value of space and silence. If the mind is always filled with words and worries, how can we find peace? Silence is not just about keeping quiet in a literal sense, but also a way to connect more deeply with ourselves and the world around us. It is the gateway to inner peace, mindfulness, and self-awareness, essential components for building a meaningful life and mastering our emotions. Silence gives us the space to listen not only to what the outside world is whispering, but also to what our hearts and minds are trying to tell us. It can be seen as a rare gift we give to ourselves. When we are silent, we gradually tap into deeper streams of thought, recognize what truly matters, and make wiser decisions as a result. But silence does not mean passivity. It is not denial, nor is it neglecting life's demands. On the contrary, it is intentional presence, a way for us to choose how to respond wisely and calmly to challenging situations. As we embark on the journey to explore 5 situations where Stoic philosophy encourages us to remain silent, remember that silence is a powerful tool to nurture inner strength and navigate life's challenges. Let us explore what these situations are and how to skillfully apply silence. The first situation in Stoic philosophy advises us to remain silent when faced with anger, whether it comes from within ourselves or from others. Anger is a powerful emotion that can easily lead us to lose control and react hastily. In the moment when anger flares up, instead of rushing to respond, silence is a way to maintain calm, control the situation, and reassess it with clarity. Silence not only protects our dignity, but also cools the flames of anger from both sides. Only in silence can we hear the whispers of reason and find a more peaceful solution to any situation. Situation number 1: silence in the face of anger. Many individuals are naturally quiet. Others may choose silence during an argument as an expression of indifference or even a refusal to engage in conflict. Sometimes silence is a way to regulate emotions and protect oneself, avoiding being drawn into hurtful exchanges. There are times when we choose not to react when emotions run high, allowing time to gather our thoughts and feelings, and waiting until reason regains control. In Stoic philosophy, silence is not only a tactical choice, but also a sign of deep understanding, particularly in challenging situations like facing anger. Anger is one of the most powerful emotions that can dominate a person. It often stems from attachment, aversion, and ignorance. When we fail to recognize the impermanence of life and do not see the interconnectedness of all things, anger easily arises, turning us into victims of our uncontrollable emotions. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?" His words remind us that when we are swept away by anger, we can easily commit actions that we regret, and that harm both others and ourselves. When we are angry, our words and actions can become distorted, leading to unpredictable consequences. This emotion, in many cases, is not only triggered by a current situation, but also by past hurts, disappointments, or unmet expectations. Therefore, words spoken in anger are often damaging, severing relationships and creating a negative spiral. Anger is like a fire. If left unchecked, it will spread and destroy everything in its path. Imagine yourself sitting in an important meeting where all eyes are on you. Suddenly, a colleague criticizes you unfairly, exaggerates your weaknesses, and blames you in front of everyone. Your natural reaction is to respond immediately, eager to defend your dignity and rights. Anger starts to rise within you, pushing you to lash out with sharp words against this injustice. However, if you choose silence, you create a valuable space to regain control over your emotions. Instead of acting in anger, you give yourself time to reflect. Silence does not mean weakness or accepting defeat. It is a manifestation of inner strength and self-discipline. When your anger subsides, your reason returns, allowing you to assess the situation more objectively. You can rejoin the conversation with calmness, addressing the issue wisely, and even earning the respect of those around you for your self-control and composure. In that silence, you discover your true strength. By staying silent, you allow wisdom to emerge, transforming what could have been a heated argument into an opportunity for growth and resolution. Silence in the face of anger, according to Stoic philosophy, is not a sign of surrender or emotional suppression, but rather an opportunity to return to oneself and understand the root of the anger. It is the first step in breaking the negative cycle and preventing the escalation of conflict. Silence gives us space to listen to the voice within, to ask ourselves, what is making me angry? And sometimes the answer does not lie in external criticism, but within our soul, stemming from unresolved wounds, expectations, or disappointments. Silence not only helps us respond mindfully but also protects relationships. In moments of anger, our words can inflict deep wounds on others, wounds that are not easily healed. A wrong word can break a friendship built over many years, damage family bonds, or even ruin a business partnership. Choosing silence is not avoidance but a way to maintain integrity and respect within a relationship. Once silence is maintained, the negative cycle of anger can be interrupted. Instead of exchanging hurtful words and worsening the situation, silence allows both parties to pause, reflect, and avoid escalating tensions. From there, peaceful and constructive solutions can emerge when no one is driven by a sudden outburst of anger. Moreover, silence carries a meaning far deeper than it appears. It is not a sign of weakness but evidence of inner strength and self-control. Silence allows us not only to confront our own emotions, but also to take time to recognize the connections between ourselves and the world around us. Create space for us to better understand the nature of anger and seek empathy and compassion in challenging situations. In Stoic philosophy, the goal of silence in the face of anger is not to suppress emotion, but to provide an opportunity for mindful response, enabling us to not only cope with but rise above conflicts with understanding and compassion. It is a wise approach that helps us avoid unnecessary negative consequences and build a life filled with compassion and inner peace. After understanding the role of silence in dealing with anger, we will continue to explore another situation: silence in the face of rumors and slander. This presents another challenge where silence can bring clarity and help us preserve our dignity during difficult times. Situation number 2: silence in the face of gossip and slander. The Bible tells us that we should not worry when others gossip about us. When others slander us behind our backs or spread lies, it is comforting to know that God always supports us. We can fully trust Him because He is the truth, and in the end, the truth will be revealed. Those who belong to God need not be discouraged, because when people slander you for walking in the truth, you will be set free. The Bible says that you will be blessed for this. This is profound advice, not only from the Bible but also echoed in Stoic philosophy. Silence in the face of slander and gossip is a sign of inner strength and superior wisdom. In situations where we encounter slander or gossip, silence is not a sign of weakness or avoidance, but an expression of courage and self-control. These negative conversations are often products of emotional instability, envy, resentment, or the desire to undermine others. Engaging in these discussions not only harms the person being talked about but also clouds our minds with negative thoughts. Choosing silence in the face of slander or gossip is not simply about not participating, but about refusing to let negativity infiltrate our souls. This helps protect our dignity and inner peace while also avoiding interactions that could lead to tension and conflict. By remaining silent, you not only shield yourself from negative impacts but also avoid hurting others. We know that every word can be a sharp weapon that causes deep wounds to a person's spirit and reputation. From Stoic philosophy. Silence is a way to express patience and calmness of the soul, qualities that the philosopher Marcus Aurelius once praised. He believed that each person should stay steadfast on the path they choose, not letting trivial or superficial matters shake their will. Gossip and slander, though common in society, bring no real value, and engaging in these behaviors only weakens our mental strength. Instead of reacting, choose silence as a noble expression of wisdom and self-control. Mostly, rumors or slander stem from jealousy, resentment, or a desire to control others. Those who speak ill do not realize that their slander is a reflection of their own unsettled and insecure souls. They are unaware that these negative behaviors only drag them deeper into unhappiness, creating bad karma, and continuing to nourish negative emotions within. For this reason, silence is the way to break the chain of negativity. You refuse to engage, refuse to become a victim, or an accomplice in the whirlpool of malicious talk. From there, your silence becomes a shield, protecting your soul, helping you avoid the invisible wounds that words can inflict. Not only that, silence gives you space to reflect, to see the root of the problem, and thus draw valuable lessons about yourself and others. By choosing silence, you not only protect yourself but also help stop the spread of gossip. Silence has the power to inspire others to reflect on their own behavior, fostering a community where people learn to treat each other with respect, compassion, and understanding. When one person refuses to participate in spreading rumors, they not only protect themselves, but also contribute to building a society where people treat each other with kindness. As the philosopher Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This statement emphasizes the importance of silence, not just in action but also in thought. Silence is not a sign of avoidance or weakness. On the contrary, it is a mark of a mind rigorously trained in reason and virtue. When faced with slander, gossip, or negative behavior from others, choosing silence is a true display of strength. Stoic philosophy teaches us that silence not only helps to avoid unnecessary conflict, but also creates space for us to respond calmly and wisely. It is an expression of self-control, the ability not to be ruled by impulsive emotions. Instead of engaging in meaningless arguments, a truly strong person understands that sometimes silence is the best answer. Moreover, silence allows us to look deeper into the nature of life, realizing that the trivial words of others do not affect our true essence, but are merely reflections of themselves. In any situation, the Stoic chooses silence as a way to protect themselves, maintain inner peace, and contribute to creating a better society. Only when we refuse to engage in negativity can we truly live a life of respect and meaning. Your opinion is valuable to us. Have you ever chosen silence in situations where you had to face gossip or slander? Please share your experience or thoughts on the Stoic philosophy of silence in the comments below. Situation number 3: silence during the conflict. Most conflicts quickly escalate because both parties involved continue to attack each other from the outset. As a result, what begins as a minor argument often escalates into a series of confrontations. In the end, it makes the debate more complicated and harder to resolve. Once the attacks cease, it takes more effort to forgive and forget afterward. When an argument starts, your heart and brain have distinct objectives. The heart conveys its emotions, while the brain tries to comprehend the situation and find a solution. In other words, your emotions cloud your mind and hinder your logical reasoning. Consequently, they cause you to speak and act irresponsibly, worsening the conflict. Therefore, your priority should be to release negative emotions to better understand the situation. Conflict is an inevitable part of human relationships. Disagreements can stem from differences in values, interests, or perspectives on life. Silence can be the most powerful response because it not only helps you maintain calm, but also prevents unstable emotions from driving your actions. In Stoic philosophy, silence during tense moments is key to avoiding conflict escalation. By choosing silence, you allow yourself to break free from the emotional whirlwind, creating space for listening and compassion. Silence does not mean you are avoiding or denying your feelings. On the contrary, silence is a powerful tool that helps you pause, reflect, and respond more wisely. When a conflict arises, the important thing is not who is right or wrong, but the ability to remain rational and calm before taking any action or saying anything. By staying silent, you not only prevent emotional escalation, but also preserve the opportunity To approach the issue with a clearer, more insightful perspective, unclouded by emotions. An essential point when discussing silence and conflict is the restraint of negative reactions. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." When faced with verbal attacks or disagreements, retaliating immediately may satisfy your emotions momentarily, but it will only add fuel to the fire and worsen the conflict. Instead, silence not only protects your calm, but also creates the opportunity for tension to subside. This can pave the way for reflection and constructive dialogue later on. Silence is also a way to help you focus on listening and better understanding the person in front of you. Sometimes, what people need most in a conflict is not counter-arguments, but recognition and listening from the other side. When you remain silent, you not only halt the argument, but also open up opportunities to gain a deeper understanding of the other person's perspective and emotions. This helps prevent the conflict from escalating and fosters an environment where both parties can find common ground, creating space for more constructive dialogue. Refusing to let emotions control your speech is also a key part of Stoic philosophy. Silence in conflict serves as a reminder that every word spoken carries power and should be carefully considered. Rather than reacting immediately, silence gives you time to think about the root cause of the conflict, to understand what truly matters, and to come up with solutions that do not cause further harm to the relationship. Ultimately, silence in conflict reflects a prioritization of the relationship over personal ego. Stoicism emphasizes the abandonment of the ego, not striving to win at all costs, but instead placing the relationship above everything else. Silence helps reduce resistance, encourages compromise and empathy, and fosters compassion, creating space for both sides to resolve conflicts more harmoniously. When you choose silence, you are choosing wisdom, calmness, and kindness, core values not only of Stoicism, but of anyone seeking to maintain lasting relationships. When we face pain, our first instinct is often to express emotions outwardly by crying, lamenting, or seeking relief. However, Stoic philosophy suggests that silence in the face of pain can bring peace and strength. Silence is not a denial of emotion but a way to look deeply within, to explore the serenity and resilience of the soul. In silence we gain a clearer awareness of the pain, and rather than letting it control us, we learn to accept and overcome it with a tranquil heart. Let's delve deeper into how, in silence, we can perceive pain more clearly, and instead of being ruled by it, we can learn to embrace and transcend it with calmness and inner peace. Situation number 4, silence and personal suffering. How often do you find yourself using this phrase, "I'm fine"? Maybe you are fine, or maybe you're in denial. Maybe you're avoiding something, or maybe it's something else entirely, but you're not fine. Despite the many encouragements, political freedom, and psychological advice we have, most of us still suffer in silence. We don't speak up until it's too late. What's wrong? What we want? How angry we are? What makes us ashamed? And how we want things to turn out. This is where Stoic philosophy offers an alternative approach, suggesting that moments of silence are not just a form of avoidance but a tool for healing and strength. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This quote emphasizes that silence is not only a refuge in the tranquility of the soul, but also a means to confront inner suffering. For the Stoic practitioner, silence and personal endurance is not a sign of weakness, but rather an expression of wisdom and inner strength. When faced with life's storms, silence is not surrender, but a deliberate approach. In Stoic philosophy, we are advised that when confronted with suffering, instead of complaining or emotionally lashing out, we should step back and remain silent. Silence helps us escape turmoil and focus on the most important thing, inner control. Silence in suffering allows us to heal ourselves, not by avoiding or denying emotions, but by facing them with calmness. In that silence, we accept that pain is part of life, and the only thing we truly control is our response to it. Silence is an invitation to return to ourselves. In Stoic philosophy, silence is not just an outward act, but an inner stillness. It's a moment where we practice compassion for ourselves. Instead of seeking comfort from the outside world and from others, silence invites us to look within and ask ourselves what we need to overcome the pain. Silence does not mean loneliness or abandoning oneself. On the contrary, it's a deep form of self-care, a way to spend time listening to yourself, recognizing that all emotions are valid and deserve respect. Only when we love and accept ourselves in silence can we find the true strength to continue our journey. In times of personal endurance, silence is the safest refuge. It's not a place where we escape but where we face what's inside. In silence we can acknowledge pain without needing to judge or analyze it. It's a space for recognition and acceptance. Silence also brings opportunities for recovery. It not only helps us process complex emotions, but also creates space for growth and maturity. When we allow ourselves to listen in silence, we gain clarity on what truly matters, which enables us to build a stronger, wiser version of ourselves. One of the greatest benefits of silence in suffering is that it frees us from the pressure to explain or justify our pain. Society often demands us to articulate our emotions clearly, in a way that is understandable, but words don't always capture the depth of what we're going through. Silence allows us to keep our experiences private without the burden of external pressures. This provides a sense of freedom as we no longer need to seek approval or understanding from others. Instead of feeling confined by societal expectations, silence gives us the freedom to experience emotions in our way. In Stoic philosophy, silence is not merely the act of staying quiet, but also a gateway to connecting with our inner strength and wisdom. Through silence we learn to listen to ourselves, recognize life's lessons, and gain a deeper understanding of the impermanence of all things. When we pause in silence, not to avoid but to explore, we find immense strength in accepting pain as an inevitable part of life. We realize that, like everything else, this suffering is temporary and we are not alone in this journey. Everyone experiences pain in their way, and that shared suffering connects us all. Ultimately, silence is the first step toward healing and personal growth. By practicing silence, we create space not only for emotional recovery but also for spiritual development. During this time, we learn from painful experiences, discover deeper spiritual values, and move forward on the path to inner peace. The silence in suffering is one of the most important lessons of Stoic philosophy. It helps us face pain with wisdom and clarity, and gives us the chance to grow and evolve through those challenges. Situation number 5, silence in witnessing suffering. There is a question that has been raised many times. What should we do when witnessing someone else's pain? To answer this, Stoic philosophers like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius remind us that, in many situations, sometimes the most valuable thing we can offer is silence. Silence is a lesson learned from the many sufferings of life, as Seneca once wrote. Indeed, silence is not emptiness, but a profound expression of understanding, empathy, and compassion, especially in the most difficult moments of human experience. When witnessing someone else's suffering, the first reaction often comes naturally. We want to comfort them, to do something to help ease their pain. However, Stoic philosophy points out that sometimes this urgency is the result of our selfish expectations or desires, the desire to see immediate change, or the desire to avoid the discomfort we feel when confronted with another's pain. Silence, on the other hand, is a powerful way to show compassion. When we are silent, we not only acknowledge the pain of others, but also give them space to experience and overcome it in their way. Silence is not a way to avoid responsibility or abandon someone in pain. On the contrary, it is an expression of a higher form of compassion, the acceptance that we cannot and should not try to control or change another person's emotions. Sometimes, just our presence is enough for the suffering individual to feel comforted. Silence allows us to step back and let them find their release from within. When we see someone in pain, our hearts tremble, and the most natural thing is to want to speak. Advice, comfort, or even practical solutions all stem from good intentions. But these words are not always necessary. Advice, no matter how sincere and well-intentioned, can unintentionally add to the burden of the one suffering. In those moments, silence holds greater power than any words. It is a reminder that we are present, ready to listen, and respecting the other's emotions without having to say a thing. Silence does not mean absence. On the contrary, silence sometimes conveys a presence more powerful than any words. In Stoic philosophy, maintaining presence, empathy, and non-judgment is regarded as one of the core values. When we remain silent in the face of someone else's pain, we are not rejecting them, but instead creating a safe space for them to express their emotions. Silence allows them to realize that we are there, ready to listen to their every thought, their every feeling, without the need to intervene or impose our opinions. Silence is a precious gift to the suffering, as it creates an empty space where they can freely express their emotions, without the fear of being judged. When we listen without speaking, the person opposite feels safer. To open up. This is when silence becomes a powerful spiritual support, requiring no words, but giving the person in pain the chance to hear themselves. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Whoever does wrong, wrongs himself. Whoever does injustice, does it to himself, making himself evil." In this context, silence not only helps the suffering understand their pain more deeply, but also helps them find ways to face and resolve it. Sometimes silence is the best way to show respect for those in pain. Stoic philosophy teaches us that not every pain can be resolved with advice or external intervention. Every individual has the capability to overcome their own suffering. Silence is how we respect the latent strength within them. It also reminds us of humility, that we do not know everything and we do not always have the answers to all problems. By being silent, we allow the person in pain to find their own answers. However, it's important to emphasize that silence is not always the optimal solution. There are instances where our words can bring comfort or provide necessary guidance. For example, when someone is lost and yearning for direction, sincere advice can become a guiding light. But even in those cases, words must be used carefully, coming from a place of compassion and true understanding, not a hasty reaction to fill the void of silence. Silence is not avoidance, but an expression of profound understanding. In Stoic philosophy, silence is not a passive state, but an active choice to create space for others, to show compassion, and to respect the ability of each individual to overcome their pain. To conclude today's video, we have explored 5 situations where silence becomes crucial according to Stoic philosophy. Through this, we've learned that silence is not just the absence of words, but also a manifestation of self-control, reason, and patience. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca taught us that when we can restrain our words, we also control our emotions, avoiding being swept away by anger or impulsiveness. Silence in important moments is also a way for us to reflect and make wiser decisions rather than just reacting instinctively. So, in your daily life, are there moments when you realize you need to remain silent? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We look forward to hearing your opinions. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like to support us and share this video with your friends or loved ones who may need to hear this message. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future content. If you found this video helpful and want to learn more about how Stoicism can help you lead a peaceful life, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'd love to hear how you deal with negative people in your life. Share your experiences in the comments below. And let's continue the conversation about how we can all grow stronger in the face of negativity, because I can make a huge difference in your life. And remember, wisdom is life itself. See you soon, young Mark Aurelius.